If we overcomplicate our story in pitches and presentations, our audience can quickly lose focus. What if we could simplify our story instead, so that the people we're trying to convince can focus on the key messages and remember our standout moments? Today, I'm going to share you the simplest tool to get your message across and make that message structured, memorable, and focused. Now, this tool is used by the greatest speakers in the world. It's called the Power of Three, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can use it to make your story make real impact too. We're going to cover the Power of Three in, well, 3 parts. So let's get into it. Part 1. What are we solving? Complexity. You're presenting a new idea in your company or pitching to investors. You need them to believe, to support, and put resources into your proposition. The temptation is to tell everything in all the minute details because, well, if they understand it fully, they'll buy in, right? So we start reeling off the details one by one, bullet point by bullet point. But imagine, what would happen if you come in and say, "Hi, I've got 11 things I want to tell you about my product." Are there celebrations going on in their head? Yes, 11 things, hooray! Not really. In fact, among the audience, there is a collective deep sigh. And mentally, they're checking out. Now, let's face it, everyone's going round in a state of, "I'm full right now. Please don't give me complexity. Don't give me more things to think about." Complexity triggers the brain to focus on things that it can handle, and that means the brain is no longer listening to your complicated, detailed story. It's your task as a presenter to deliver your pitch in ways that help the audience give attention to your story and nothing else. What would happen if you say, "Oh, there's many things I could tell you about my product, but there's 3 things I really want you to remember. Here's the first." You're guaranteed to have their attention. Why? Because you've told them. It's a complicated world, but I've simplified it for you. Here's step 1. The audience's brain is once again sighing, but this time not with fatigue, but relief. Yes, a simpler story. That's what I'm looking for. This is where the Power of 3 kicks in and supercharges attention for your message. Part 2. What is the Power of 3? It's about narrowing down to the most important topics of any part of your story and delivering it in a way that the audience wants to receive it. As the presenter, we think they need all the details to be convinced. As a listener, usually we're convinced within 3 points. Here's what Dan Pink, multi-million best-selling author, had to say about the Power of 3 when I interviewed him.
There's actually some research in public communications showing that 3 is more likely to elicit applause. We're going to do this, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this. Boom! 1 argument is better than 0 arguments. 2 is better than 1. 3 is better than 2. But there's a big drop off after that 4th argument. It starts to feel insincere. It starts to feel like they're trying too hard. It's a good rule of thumb to stop at 3.
In short, the Power of 3 is all about telling the 3 most important arguments or points in a concise 3-part story. It's just comfortable for your audience to follow that 3-part structure. It's enough detail for them to be convinced, and it's easier for them to pay attention, understand, and remember. Now, this is powerful stuff, and it's been used in the history of public speaking countless times. Julius Caesar, Veni, Vidi, Vici, the Gettysburg Address, of the people, by the people, and for the people. And a more modern example, Brené Brown's 100 million view TED Talk. Shame needs 3 things to grow exponentially: secrecy, silence, and judgment. Now, I've often wondered, why is it 3? Why not 2 or 4, 7? There are various theories and even some science about why the brain likes to receive information in 3s. But bottom line, we use the Power of 3 all the time. We see it all around us. Ready, steady, go. Lights, camera, action. Beginning, middle, and end. There's a rhythm to it. It's easy to remember and it works. Let's move on to part 3. How can you apply the Power of 3? You could use it to put focus on the 3 key messages about the problem that you're solving. 3 reasons why you're so much better than competition. Or you could tell 3 aspects about your team and why you are the people to make this business happen. And there are how many steps? Well, of course, 3. 3 steps to defining, delivering and emphasizing your power of three. First, identify your three key messages. You can look at the whole pitch and ask yourself, if I only had 30 seconds, which three things would I tell? Now, this approach can help you set up the whole presentation. That's what Uncle Steve did in his famous 2005 Stanford commencement speech.
Today, I want to tell you 3 stories from my life. That's it. No big deal. Just 3 stories.
Or you might be looking at a certain part of your presentation. Here's how Steve took one of those 3 stories and used the power of 3 to make his point.
It wasn't all romantic. I didn't have a dorm room, so I slept on the floor in friends' rooms. I returned Coke bottles for the 5-cent deposits to buy food with. And I would walk the 7 miles across town every Sunday night to get 1 good meal a week at the Hare Krishna temple.
Step 2 is to deliver the power of 3 with the numbers. Take a look at how this can work in a high-stakes pitch. This is Ryan Pandya winning $200,000 at the Green Challenge. Ryan is the CEO of Perfect Day. They make milk without cows. This was a few years ago, before companies like Oatly had made non-dairy milk familiar. Ryan needed to explain the impact of animal agriculture on the environment and why it was important to reduce it.
And it's vitally important for 3 reasons. First, deforestation. Animal agriculture is responsible for almost all the degradation of the Amazon. Second, greenhouse gas emissions. Dairy alone is responsible for 4% of anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions globally. And third, coming from drought-stricken California, water. The water footprint of a single gallon of milk is equivalent to taking a 2-month-long shower.
So what happened there and why did this work? Well, first, Ryan gave a signal to the audience.
And it's vitally important for 3 reasons.
This tells the audience's brain, hey, there's a 3-part story coming up. And the audience's brain responds with, hooray, I like 3-part stories, I'm ready to listen. He then points up each of the 3 with a number.
First, deforestation. Second, greenhouse gas emissions. And third, water.
This piques the audience's focus. Each time we hear that first, second, and third, the brain gets a little trigger to pay attention. Step 3 is to gesture with the numbers. When you call out the numbers, it gives even more focus and structure if you gesture with your hands in line with those numbers. Let me show you what I mean. There are 3 things I want to guide you to. First, identify your 3 key messages. Second, deliver those messages with the numbers. And third, gesture with your hands in line with those numbers. Without calling the numbers out physically, the power of 3 still works pretty well. But if you do gesture with your hands in line with the numbers and your 3-part story, you will triple the audience's attention level. Now, there's a bonus use of the power of 3, and that's in closing your pitch or your presentation. So how do you finish up? Well, watch this video and you'll find out why the end is one of the most impactful parts of your story and how the power of 3 will help you make a lasting impression. For now, focus on those 3 key messages, call out the numbers, and good luck with your pitch.